I joked I'll pretend to be your boyfriend. She replied, we'll need practice, no one will buy it. Traders shouted in dozens of alien languages. Droids rolled past carrying packages, and merchants waved glowing signs advertising everything from exotic spices to anti-gravity boots. Humans were a small but notable presence here. They weren't the strongest or the fastest species, but they had something the aliens couldn't understand: boldness. "Careful, Evan," a voice called from behind him. It was Kayla, her tall frame casting a long shadow on the balcony floor. Her skin shimmered faintly, a soft silver that reflected the neon lights of the trade hub. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and slightly amused. "I'm fine," Evan said, straightening. "Just enjoying the chaos. Humans call it fun. Aliens call it madness." Kayla rolled her eyes. "I call it dangerous, but it suits you, I suppose." Evan grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment." Kayla shook her head. "You have no idea what you're about to get into." Evan laughed, the sound bouncing against the metallic walls around them. "I like challenges." "So what's the problem this time?" Kayla held up a holopad, projecting a 3D model of a sleek starship. "I need a trade deal approved with the Auravax Consortium. They control almost half the galaxy's mineral trade, and they hate humans." Evan raised his eyebrows. "They hate humans, isn't that a problem for me?" Kayla smirked. "Exactly, which is why I'm here, needing your unique talents." Evan tilted his head. "My talents? You mean charm, wit, and sheer dumb luck?" "Mostly dumb luck," Kayla replied, but there was a glint in her eye. "Listen, these aliens will only trust someone they think is aligned with me, someone close, someone human but convincing, someone who looks like my boyfriend." Evan laughed outright this time. "You want me to pretend to be your boyfriend? Are you serious?" Kayla crossed her arms. "Deadly serious. You'll need practice. No one will buy it otherwise." Evan grinned wider. "Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I accept the challenge." Kayla's eyes narrowed. "Fun, huh? Don't underestimate it. If we fail, the deal fails and my company might go under. This isn't a joke, Evan." He held up his hands in mock surrender. "Relax, I'm human. We improvise, that's our superpower." Kayla's lips twitched into a small smile. "We'll see." The two of them descended into the bustling marketplace. The air smelled of roasted alien fruits, fuel vapor, and the tang of ozone from hovering vehicles. Merchants waved, some recognizing Kayla and nodding respectfully. Evan felt a thrill. This was the kind of chaos humans thrived in. The unpredictability, the noise, the alien glances. It was an arena made for improvisation. Kayla led him past a stall selling glowing gemstones that floated in midair. "Your first lesson," she said, "is reading alien reactions. The Auravax are expert observers. They notice every twitch, every smile, every hesitation. You have to control everything or fake it convincingly." Evan frowned. "Control everything? That sounds impossible." Kayla chuckled. "That's the point. Humans succeed where logic fails. You'll need charm, humor, subtlety. And if that fails, sheer confidence." Evan grinned. "Confidence that I have in abundance." They stopped in front of a holographic cafe. A small sign flashed, "0G latte, gravity optional." Kayla gestured inside. "We'll start here. Practice interactions. Simulate a date. Learn each other's habits." Evan blinked. "Practice a date?" Kayla's expression was dead serious. "Yes, every move matters, every word counts. We have to be believable or the consortium will detect the lie instantly." Evan laughed again, though nervously. "All right, let's do this then." Inside, the cafe floated in layers of gravity. Some tables had normal gravity, some partial, and some none at all. Patrons sipped glowing drinks while floating gently above their seats. Evan tried to adjust his footing on a partial gravity platform, nearly tipping over. Kayla grabbed his arm, steadying him. "See, small gestures make a difference. Even humans can be clumsy, but we can turn it into charm if done intentionally." Evan nodded. "Got it. Clumsy charm, that's my brand." They took a table in the zero-gravity section. Evan floated upward slightly, catching the edge of the table to stay in place. Kayla glided beside him effortlessly. "First task," Kayla said. "Talk about anything. Make me feel like this is natural." Remember, micro-expressions are key. The Oravax can read them and so can I. Evan swallowed. "Micro what now?" Kayla sighed. "Tiny movements, subtle signs, how you smile, how your eyes move, how your hands react. Humans are naturally expressive. Use it to our advantage." Evan took a deep breath and smiled. "All right, Kayla, here goes nothing. So, I read a book once about alien politics. Fascinating stuff. Did you know some species have 6 genders and vote telepathically?" Kayla raised an eyebrow. "Interesting, but relevance." "Relevance," Evan said, floating a little higher, "is that humans adapt, we adjust. Even when things seem impossible, we improvise. That's why I'll make a convincing boyfriend." Kayla blinked, caught off guard. "You're serious." "Dead serious," he said. "I may not be perfect, but I can fake sincerity. That counts for a lot." Kayla studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "You might just be overconfident enough to pull this off. That's very human of you." Evan grinned. "Thank you, I'll take that as a compliment." Their practice continued for hours. Evan learned to mirror Kayla's gestures subtly, to make casual eye contact without staring, to laugh in the right places. Kayla tested him constantly, throwing in awkward questions, challenging topics, and strange cultural references. Evan fumbled sometimes, but he always recovered, improvising in ways that seemed natural. By the time the cafe dimmed its lights, signaling closing, Evan was exhausted but exhilarated. Kayla, too, looked pleased, though she would never admit it out loud. "You're improving," she said. "But remember, the real challenge is the Oravax. They aren't just observers, they test emotions, logic, and honesty. One slip and they'll know." Evan nodded. "I get it, but you know what? Humans can surprise anyone, even aliens." Kayla allowed herself a small, genuine smile. "That's why I chose you. Let's see if your unpredictability can save me and my company." Outside, the marketplace was quieter now, the neon lights reflecting off the metallic streets. Evan felt a thrill of anticipation. This wasn't just a practice run. This was a test of humanity itself. And humans, he knew, always found a way to shine, even in the strangest, most alien situations. As they walked back toward Kayla's starship, Evan couldn't resist one last joke. "So, first real mission. Pretend to be my girlfriend in front of people who literally scan for deception. How hard can it be?" Kayla laughed, a short, sharp laugh. "You'll find out soon enough." Evan smiled, looking at the stars above Lyra 9. Chaos, unpredictability, danger, it was all ahead, and he wouldn't have it any other way. Humans thrived on challenges. Humans thrived on improvisation. And maybe, just maybe, this crazy idea of pretending to be Kayla's boyfriend was about to prove that humanity's most unexpected strength was, in fact, humanity itself. The morning sun of Lyra 9 shone over the bustling spaceport, casting long shadows of hovering cargo ships and merchants setting up their stalls. Evan stretched his arms, still feeling the slight soreness from yesterday's practice at the zero-gravity cafe. Even floating for a few hours could be exhausting if one wasn't careful. Kayla was already waiting by the docking bay, leaning against a sleek hoverboard. Her silver skin glinted in the sunlight and her eyes reflected the organized chaos of the port. "Ready for day 2?" she asked, her tone sharp but with a hint of amusement. "Absolutely," Evan said, adjusting his jacket. "Though I'm starting to think humans weren't meant to float gracefully." Kayla rolled her eyes. "Humans were meant to survive, adapt, and improvise. Grace is optional." "Then I'm officially human," he replied with a grin. Today, Kayla had a different plan. Instead of practicing inside a controlled cafe, they would move through the public areas of Lyra 9 streets, markets, and even transport hubs. The goal: blend in convincingly as a couple in front of unsuspecting aliens. "Step 1," Kayla said, "is observation. Watch how other couples interact. It's subtle, not just words. Body language, micro-expressions, timing, all of it matters. You make one wrong move and it looks fake. Evan glanced at her, impressed and slightly worried. Okay, subtle, got it. But what if I fail? Kayla smirked. Then we fail. Simple as that. They walked into the crowded streets, weaving between merchants selling everything from floating fruit baskets to tiny robotic pets. Evan immediately noticed how alien couples behaved differently. Some communicated telepathically, others through touch patterns he couldn't even begin to understand. Kayla pointed discreetly to a pair of humans near a neon food stand. Notice them. Watch the timing of their gestures, how one mirrors the other. That's what sells the illusion. People and aliens recognize connections subconsciously. Evan studied them carefully. The human's hands brushed occasionally. One leaned in slightly when the other spoke. Laughter was shared but never forced. Everything seemed natural. I think I can do that, he whispered. Maybe. Maybe isn't enough, Kayla replied, her voice low. Humans have an advantage, improvisation, but we have to make it look effortless. That's what confuses aliens when humans can seem genuine in chaotic situations. They practiced walking side by side, matching their steps, brushing hands together lightly. Evan stumbled a few times, nearly bumping into a hovering vendor carrying glowing fruit. Kayla grabbed his arm, steadying him. Clumsy charm, she said, raising an eyebrow. Remember, that's your style, but don't overdo it. Evan grinned sheepishly. Got it. Subtle charm, minimal embarrassment. Their first real test came when they entered a crowded transport hub. Shuttles were coming and going, passengers of dozens of species moving at every speed from gliding to teleportation. Kayla whispered, blend, move naturally, no distractions. Evan tried. He smiled, nodded, and even lightly touched Kayla's arm at what he thought was the right moment. But a small alien child zoomed past him, knocking his shoulder. He stumbled, barely catching himself. Kayla's eyes widened, but she didn't scold him. Instead, she whispered, recover. That's the human advantage. Make it part of the act. Evan took a deep breath and laughed, shaking his head. Oops, watch out for rogue toddlers, huh? Kayla's small smile confirmed he had recovered the moment. They continued, Evan gradually learning to adapt to unexpected events. Shuttles shaking, floating objects, even a pair of aliens arguing loudly nearby. Every disruption was an opportunity to prove humans could improvise under pressure. By midday, they had stopped at a holographic park, a space with artificial trees and a small zero-gravity pond that shimmered like liquid crystal. Kayla's expression was serious. Next exercise, she said, is conversation under scrutiny. Pretend the entire park is watching us. We have to act like a real couple, respond naturally, and remain convincing even if everything around us is chaotic. Evan leaned against a crystal-like bench. So, basically, act like humans but upgraded. Exactly, Kayla replied. Except your improvisation has to look planned. Subtle humor, timing, tone, everything. They practiced for hours, taking turns leading conversations, responding to unexpected questions, and even role-playing potential trade negotiations where one had to act jealous, protective, or supportive. Evan's natural humor often saved awkward moments, and Kayla noted how humans' unpredictability could disarm even the most observant alien mind. You see, she said at one point, floating above the pond, humans are fascinating. Other species rely on strict rules and predictable behavior. You improvise, you adapt. That's why you can be convincing and dangerous. Evan laughed, splashing lightly in the pond. Dangerous, huh? That's a new compliment. The afternoon brought their biggest challenge yet. Kayla had arranged a simulation with a small group of aliens she trusted. These aliens would attempt to detect if Evan's boyfriend act was genuine. The group included a telepathic Auravax inspector, a multi-limbed trader, and a shape-shifting diplomat. They observed silently as Evan and Kayla walked, spoke, and interacted in front of them. Evan felt a twinge of nervousness. This was no longer a casual exercise, it was a test under scrutiny. Kayla whispered, "Remember human charm, humor, improvisation. Everything counts." Evan nodded. "Got it. Let's do this." They entered the simulation room, which had observation windows and sensors measuring every gesture, expression, and heartbeat. The aliens sat across from them, scanning intently. Kayla took the lead at first, speaking naturally, smiling, and occasionally brushing her hand against Evan's. Evan mirrored her gestures, making small jokes, keeping the conversation flowing. At first he stumbled, words tripping over each other. But Kayla guided him subtly with a glance or a touch. Halfway through, the telepathic inspector leaned forward, sending a subtle wave of inquiry directly at Evan's mind. He felt a pressure, a mental probe testing his sincerity. For a moment he panicked, unsure how to respond. Then he remembered Kayla's words, "Improvise." He smiled, laughed, and made a joke about the alien's fascination with human humor. To his surprise, the inspector paused, seemingly caught off guard, then nodded subtly. Evan realized that unpredictability, confidence, and genuine human behavior were confusing the aliens in a way they hadn't anticipated. After nearly an hour, Kayla concluded the exercise. The aliens gave their feedback, minor gestures, timing, and overall appearance were convincing. "Impressive," one said. "Human improvisation effective." Kayla turned to Evan, her eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and astonishment. "You're getting better." "Humans can be surprisingly effective when they want to be." Evan smiled. "So humans equals dangerous, unpredictable, charming, got it. That's my resume." Kayla laughed lightly. "If we can survive this simulation, the consortium might actually believe it. But remember, this was controlled. The real test will be unpredictable, high stakes, and very alien. You'll need everything you learned here, plus more." They spent the rest of the day practicing small gestures, holding hands in a natural way, sharing subtle glances, laughing at the right moments. Evan stumbled at times, but Kayla's guidance and the repetition helped him improve rapidly. By evening, they returned to Kayla's ship. Evan collapsed in a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. "That was intense. I didn't think humans could get this tired from just walking and talking." Kayla smiled faintly. "It's not just walking and talking. It's acting like humans under observation. You're learning to manage micro-expressions, gestures, timing, humor, all at once. It's exhausting but essential." Evan looked out the ship's window at the stars glittering over Lyra 9. "You know, Kayla, I think humans actually have an advantage. Even aliens can't predict us fully." Kayla nodded. "That's what makes you dangerous, and right now that danger is exactly what we need." As night fell over the spaceport, Evan realized the truth. Being human was more than instinct, humor, or charm. It was adaptability, unpredictability, and resilience. And if he could master it, even just a little, they might just pull off the impossible. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin. But today, Evan had taken the first real steps in proving that humans could shine in a galaxy that expected them to fail. And humans, he thought with a smile, had a habit of surprising everyone, especially aliens. The following morning, Lyra 9 felt different. The bustling trade hub seemed sharper, almost tense. Evan could sense it in the way merchants glanced around, in the slight hum of the hovering shuttles, and in Kayla's usually calm demeanor. Today, there was no practice. Today, they would face something real, the Oravax Consortium. Kayla's silver skin shimmered faintly in the light of the docking bay. Her expression was unreadable, but Evan knew it was serious. "We leave in 30 minutes, she said, checking the systems of her sleek starship. "This is it. No simulations, no controlled exercises. One slip and the consortium will know we're faking it." Evan swallowed. "One slip seems risky." Kayla's eyes softened slightly. "It's not just risky, it's dangerous. They are experts at reading truth from lies, detecting deception through micro-expressions, tone, even thought patterns. and they hate humans. Evan nodded, though a small spark of excitement ran through him. He thrived on challenges like this. Humans had a way of turning the impossible into opportunity, a fact that aliens rarely expected. As they boarded the ship, Kayla activated a holographic interface, projecting the target, a sleek Auravax trading vessel hovering above the city's upper stratosphere. The consortium's inspection team was aboard, ready to evaluate Kayla's sincerity and, by extension, the trustworthiness of her associates. "This is it," Kayla said, her voice low. "We make them believe. You're my boyfriend, Evan." Every gesture, every glance, every word, it must be convincing. They will notice everything. They will test everything. If we fail, my company is finished. Evan drew a deep breath. "No pressure, huh?" Kayla's lips twitched into a faint smile. "You humans sometimes joke at the wrong time. But yes, I need you to focus." The ship docked with the consortium vessel. The interior was cold, metallic, and stark. Hollow panels displayed charts, metrics, and images of various alien trades. The inspection team awaited them. A telepathic Auravax elder, a multi-limbed trader known for detecting lies, and a shape-shifting auditor whose form subtly shifted to match whatever species they interacted with. Evan's heart raced. He had practiced, trained, and improvised countless scenarios, but now nothing could simulate the weight of real scrutiny. Kayla took his hand lightly, a small, grounding gesture. "Remember, human charm, improvisation, subtle humor, trust your instincts." Evan nodded. "Got it. Let's do this." They entered the main chamber. The inspectors observed silently, eyes or equivalent sensory organs fixed on them. Evan felt the mental pressure immediately. The telepathic Auravax elder sent probing thoughts, testing sincerity, scanning emotions for inconsistencies. Evan swallowed and forced a casual smile. He could feel the inspection probing him, analyzing micro-expressions, tone, rhythm of speech, and even minor gestures. For a moment he panicked internally, but then he remembered what Kayla had told him: improvise. Humans succeed where logic fails. He nodded slightly to Kayla, who smiled faintly. "Initiate conversation," she whispered. Evan opened his mouth. "So, it's always fascinating to visit the consortium's vessels. Even humans like me can feel a bit overwhelmed by your impressive organizational structure." Kayla chuckled softly. "You're exaggerating. That's fine. Keep it natural." Evan glanced at Kayla, mimicking a subtle gesture she had practiced, brushing a strand of her silver hair behind her ear. It was small, almost imperceptible, but the effect was real. The Auravax auditors shifted minutely. The telepathic probe wavered for a moment. Evan took a deep breath. "I must admit, Kayla has spoken highly of your team's attention to detail. She trusts you. I trust her judgment as well. And well, humans value trust above all else." There was a pause. The telepathic probe strengthened, testing his sincerity. Evan felt the mental pressure probing every thought. But humans had one advantage: unpredictability. They didn't follow rigid logic. They improvised, adapted, and survived against all odds. Evan leaned in slightly, a subtle gesture. "Sometimes humans joke to lighten tension. But our intentions are always genuine, even when we seem chaotic. Kayla, she knows that." The Auravax auditor's form shifted, subtle waves of color flickering across their shape. They whispered something in an alien tongue, and the elder's probing thoughts grew more intense. Evan could feel it, but he didn't falter. He smiled, made a small joke about human habits, and let natural humor flow. To his surprise, the elder hesitated. The probe wavered. Humans' chaotic sincerity was confusing. Evan realized something profound. The unpredictability of humans was, in itself, a strength. It broke patterns the Auravax relied on. Kayla noticed too. She smiled faintly at him. "See, your unpredictability works in our favor. Keep going." Evan nodded. He relaxed slightly, letting small gestures, subtle humor, and genuine expressions flow naturally. Every laugh, every glance, every micro-expression was calibrated, yet natural. He didn't overthink, he improvised. The multi-limbed trader leaned forward, moving arms in small patterns that signaled scrutiny. Evan responded without hesitation, adapting gestures to mirror Kayla subtly. Every movement, every glance reinforced the illusion. Suddenly, the shapeshifter auditor shifted to mimic Evan's own appearance. Evan froze for a split second. It was a test, clearly designed to unsettle him. But then he remembered, humans excel in chaos. He laughed lightly, shaking his head. Interesting choice of impersonation, he said smoothly. I've never seen someone imitate me before. Kayla, did you teach them that? Kayla smiled faintly. No, that's them. The auditor paused, then shifted back. Evan realized the joke had worked. Humor, even in the smallest doses, could disarm the most rigid of minds. The Auravacs were logical, but humans thrived on subtle chaos. For the next hour, the inspection continued. Evan and Kayla walked, spoke, laughed, and responded naturally to every test, every probe, every trick the Auravacs devised. Evan stumbled once or twice but quickly recovered, turning mistakes into charm. Kayla's subtle guidance and his improvisation made their act convincing. Finally, the telepathic elder withdrew the probe. Enough, they said, their voice like a ripple of thought. Your performance is satisfactory. We detect no deception. Evan exhaled, a mixture of relief and triumph. Kayla squeezed his hand lightly. You did it, she whispered. You did it too, he replied, smiling. We did it together. The consortium auditors nodded and began preparing their reports. Their expressions remained stoic, but Evan could sense a shift, a small recognition of the humans' unpredictable brilliance. Kayla led Evan to a quiet observation deck away from the auditors. You see what I mean, she said softly. Humans aren't supposed to succeed here. The consortium expects predictable, logical behavior, but you improvise, you adapt. You're a living contradiction to their systems. Evan laughed softly. So, humans are basically unknowable even to the experts. Kayla smiled faintly. Exactly, and that unknowability is our strength. Today, you didn't just pretend to be my boyfriend. You proved that humans can survive and thrive where others fail. Evan leaned against the railing, watching the stars glittering outside. He felt a deep sense of pride, not arrogance but understanding. Humans had an edge that no alien could fully predict. Improvisation, humor, adaptability, it was more than survival. It was a defining feature of humanity. Kayla joined him, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. The real test isn't over, she said. Tomorrow, we face the consortium directly in a formal negotiation. The stakes are higher, the scrutiny sharper, and the expectations even greater. But if today is any indication, we might just succeed. Evan nodded. Then let's get ready. Humans don't back down from challenges. We adapt, improvise, and somehow we shine. Kayla's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. That's what makes you remarkable. Let's see if the galaxy is ready for a bit of human brilliance. As they prepared to return to their ship, Evan felt a surge of anticipation. The galaxy was vast, full of intelligent and observant species. Most underestimated humans, seeing them as chaotic, weak, or naive. But humans had one advantage that no alien could fully predict. They could surprise anyone at any moment. And tomorrow, Evan realized they would surprise the consortium in ways no one could anticipate. The stars outside shimmered, reflecting the vast possibilities ahead. Humans thrived on unpredictability, on improvisation, on challenges. And if Evan had learned anything today, it was that even when the odds seemed impossible, human ingenuity could change everything. The morning of the negotiation dawned bright and tense over Lyra 9. Evan woke early, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. This wasn't practice anymore. This was the real test. The Auravacs Consortium's top leaders would be watching every word, every gesture, every glance. Any sign of inauthenticity could destroy Kayla's company. Kayla moved through the ship with calm precision, checking the final preparations. Her silver skin caught the morning light and her eyes were steady, though Evan could detect the slight tension in her jaw. "Today is what we've trained for," she said softly, approaching him. "Remember everything: subtle gestures, timing, humor, adaptability. The consortium expects perfection. They'll notice everything. And you, Evan, will be my human advantage." Evan smiled, trying to ease the tension. "Human advantage, I like the sound of that. Let's show them what humans can do." They boarded the consortium vessel. The interior was vast, with polished floors, glowing holographic panels, and chairs that hovered slightly above the ground. The consortium leaders sat in a semicircle, their expressions unreadable, their gaze sharp. Kayla and Evan entered, moving in sync. Evan felt the weight of their attention immediately. The telepathic probes were active, analyzing thoughts and emotions with precision. The multi-limbed trader scanned their movements, while the shape-shifting auditor observed every gesture, ready to detect any inconsistency. Kayla took Evan's hand lightly. "Remember subtlety," she whispered. "Genuine connection, not forced. Improvisation is our strength." Evan nodded. "Got it. Let's be convincingly human." The lead Auravax elder spoke, their voice calm and deep. "Kayla, Evan, we understand the stakes. We will observe and evaluate sincerity, reliability, and trustworthiness. Convince us." Evan felt a wave of pressure. Every human instinct screamed to be nervous, but he reminded himself, humans thrive on unpredictability. It was time to turn chaos into advantage. Kayla began the conversation, outlining her company's trade goals. Evan followed naturally, interjecting small gestures, humor, and supportive comments. Every micro-expression, a glance, a nod, a soft smile, reinforced the appearance of a genuine relationship. The consortium remained neutral at first, their probes testing both of them. Evan could feel the telepathic pressure, subtle questions probing his sincerity. He remembered Kayla's advice. Humor can disarm, unpredictability can confuse, improvisation can succeed where logic fails. Evan leaned slightly toward Kayla, whispering in a low, joking tone, "I hope they don't expect me to memorize alien etiquette. Humans are terrible at that." Kayla's small laugh was natural, and the auditors reacted subtly. Even the telepathic probe faltered for a moment, thrown off by the genuine, casual interaction. Humans didn't always follow predictable patterns. Their behavior was flexible, adaptive, and often surprising. Throughout the negotiation, Evan stayed close to Kayla, supporting her arguments with natural charm and subtle gestures. He mirrored her posture, shared small jokes, and responded instinctively to the consortium's questions. At one point, the lead auditor asked Evan a direct question about Kayla's loyalty. "Why do you support her? How can we trust your human instincts?" Evan smiled. "Kayla is brilliant. She's smart, fair, and determined. Humans value competence and integrity. And when someone shows that, we support them fiercely. That's why I'm here. Not pretending, but proving trust exists between us, and humans can see that clearly." The consortium exchanged silent signals, analyzing every word. Evan's tone was calm, his body language open and confident. Even the shapeshifter auditor paused, tilting their head. Humans' emotional unpredictability was, once again, confusing. Kayla stepped in, complimenting Evan's words with precise reasoning about the trade deal. The two of them functioned as a unit, Evan improvising when needed, Kayla providing calculated logic. The combination was unexpectedly powerful. Suddenly, one of the multi-limbed traders tested them by introducing a tricky hypothetical. "Suppose Kayla betrays your trust, human." "What then?" Evan paused, then smiled softly. "If Kayla betrays me, I'd be shocked, but humans adapt. We learn, adjust, and keep moving forward. And honestly, I don't think that will happen. Humans sense integrity, and she has it." Kayla's eyes flicked to him, impressed. The auditors noted the sincerity. The telepathic probe hesitated, as if unsure how to read Evan's confidence and calm honesty. Throughout the negotiation, chaos arose in small ways. One of the shapeshifters mimicked Kayla's appearance mid-discussion, trying to unsettle them. Evan chuckled lightly, shaking his head. Not a bad trick, but humans notice subtle differences. Nice try, Kayla smiled. You're learning fast. Evan responded naturally, integrating humor and observation seamlessly. The auditors' expressions remained neutral, but Evan sensed their evaluation shifting. They were impressed, even if they wouldn't admit it outright. Hours passed. Evan and Kayla maintained composure, improvising through interruptions, sudden system alerts, and complex questions from the consortium. Every time the aliens tried to predict their behavior, the humans adapted, responded, and maintained credibility. Finally, the lead Oravax elder leaned forward, their voice measured. Your performance demonstrates sincerity, adaptability, and intelligence. We were prepared for deception, but human behavior, chaotic, unpredictable, yet genuine, cannot be fully anticipated. This is effective. Kayla exhaled softly, squeezing Evan's hand. You did it, she whispered. Evan smiled, letting relief and pride wash over him. We did it. Humans really can shine when it matters. The consortium concluded the meeting, approving the trade deal with minimal further questions. Their expressions remained formal, but Evan could sense the subtle acknowledgement. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and capable of earning trust in ways aliens hadn't expected. As they prepared to leave, Kayla turned to Evan. You were brilliant, not just pretending, you were human at your best. Humor, adaptability, improvisation. That's what won the day. Evan shrugged modestly. I just did what humans do best, survived, adapted, and improvised. And had a little fun along the way. Kayla smiled, a rare, full smile. The galaxy underestimates humans too often. Today we proved that wrong. The ship lifted off the consortium vessel, leaving the inspection team behind. Evan looked out the window at the stars, feeling a deep sense of pride. Humans had succeeded not because of technology or brute strength, but because of their unique ability to adapt, improvise, and persevere. Kayla stood beside him, her hand brushing his lightly. Tomorrow the real celebration begins, but tonight we savor this moment. Humanity proved its worth. Evan nodded. And it wasn't just humans in general, it was teamwork, trust, and a little chaos that made it possible. As Lyra Nine's twin suns set behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the landing platform, Evan felt something profound. Humans didn't just survive in the galaxy. They thrived, especially when the odds were against them. Their strength lay not in rigid rules or predictability, but in adaptability, intelligence, and the courage to face the unexpected. Kayla watched the stars with him, silent for a moment. Then she said softly, tomorrow, the galaxy will talk about this trade deal. But few will understand how humans achieved it. That's our advantage, and it's exactly what makes you remarkable. Evan smiled, a small laugh escaping. Remarkable humans, I like the sound of that. And Kayla, I like working with you, even if it means pretending sometimes. Kayla's eyes glimmered faintly. Sometimes pretending can reveal the truth. That's the paradox of humans. You surprise, adapt, and endure, and somehow you always succeed. Evan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Humans were underestimated in countless ways. But their defining moments, like today, proved that human ingenuity, courage, and heart could triumph against even the most calculated odds. As night fully descended on Lyra 9, Evan realized the truth. Humans were more than adaptable, clever, or humorous. They were capable of turning impossible challenges into triumphs simply by being themselves. And that was a power no alien could ever fully predict. The stars of Lyra 9 twinkled brightly as Kayla's ship glided away from the Oravax consortium vessel. The negotiation had ended hours earlier, and yet the air in the cockpit still carried the tension of the day. Evan leaned back in his chair, letting out a slow breath. His heart was still racing, but this time with relief. They had succeeded, truly succeeded. Kayla stood beside him, arms folded, her eyes scanning the vast expanse of the spaceport below. Her silver skin shimmered faintly in the soft light of the twin suns. She didn't need words. Evan could feel her pride, quiet and steady. "You did well," she said finally, her voice soft. "Better than I expected." Evan grinned, leaning back in his seat. "We did it together. Humans and, well, whatever your species calls teamwork." Kayla smirked. "I suppose you deserve credit. Your improvisation, it worked." "Even when I doubted whether it would." Evan laughed lightly. "Improvise, adapt, survive. That's the human motto, right?" Kayla tilted her head. "Yes, and today you proved it to the galaxy." The stars outside seemed to stretch endlessly, each one a reminder of the vastness of space, the complexity of alien politics, and the endless challenges that awaited humanity. But Evan felt a sense of calm he had not known before. They had faced scrutiny, manipulation, and high-stakes pressure, and had emerged victorious. Kayla's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "The consortium will remember this day, not because of the trade deal alone, but because of the humans involved." Evan raised an eyebrow. "Humans, you mean me?" Kayla gave him a faint, approving smile. "You and your species, you see, humans are unpredictable. You improvise when logic fails. You find solutions where others see obstacles, and that makes you valuable." Evan leaned back, a small laugh escaping him. "So we're basically unknowable, chaotic geniuses. Sounds flattering." Kayla's smile widened slightly. "Flattering and accurate. Today, humans showed that ingenuity, empathy, humor, and courage are just as powerful as logic or technology. You turned unpredictability into an advantage." Evan glanced at her, considering her words. "It's funny, isn't it? All this time, humans are seen as chaotic, unreliable, and impulsive. Yet that very thing, our chaos, saved the deal." Kayla nodded. "Exactly. Most species underestimate humans. They assume order, rules, and predictability are the only paths to success. But humans succeed when no one expects it." Evan smiled. He felt a swell of pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. They had faced impossible odds and thrived. They had proven that adaptability, courage, and wit could match, and even surpass, calculated alien systems. The ship touched down on Lyra 9's main platform. The lights of the city glimmered, bustling even at this late hour. Merchants, travelers, and traders moved below like currents in a river of metal and neon. Evan stepped out first, adjusting his jacket and stretching his legs. The air was crisp, carrying scents of exotic foods, fuel, and ozone. He felt alive, energized by the success and the lessons of the day. Kayla followed, her steps light and precise. "The consortium will likely share their report with other trade authorities," she said. "Your performance today will influence not just this deal, but future interactions between humans and alien merchants." Evan chuckled. "So humans are officially influential. Got it." Kayla raised an eyebrow. "Influence through unpredictability. That's a rare commodity in the galaxy. You just earned humanity a reputation for brilliance, courage, and adaptability." Evan's grin widened. "I always knew humans had it in them. We just needed the right stage." They walked through the bustling streets, blending naturally into the crowd. Evan felt a sense of triumph but also humility. They had succeeded, yes, but it was more than just clever improvisation or humor. It was trust between him and Kayla, between humans and the galaxy. "Tomorrow," Kayla said softly, "we celebrate, but tonight reflect. Today, humans prove they are more than underestimated. They prove that creativity, courage, and heart matter as much as logic or technology." Evan nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humans weren't just survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and adapters. Their uniqueness lay in their unpredictability and capacity for empathy, qualities no alien species could fully anticipate. As they reached the ship, Evan paused to look back at the city lights. You know, he said thoughtfully, humans always find a way. Maybe that's why we're here in the galaxy among species that think they understand everything. But they don't, and we thrive because of it. Kayla smiled faintly, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. Exactly. And today you reminded the galaxy of that. Humans are a force to be reckoned with, not because of strength or speed, but because of ingenuity, courage, and heart. Evan laughed softly. Heart, right. Not sure I expected a philosophical lesson in the middle of a trade negotiation, but I'll take it. Kayla tilted her head. Humanity thrives on surprise. Logic is predictable. Heart, courage, humor, that's what makes humans remarkable. Today, you embodied all of it. Evan's smile faded into a contemplative look. You know, I think that's what makes humans different. We aren't always perfect. We make mistakes. We stumble, but we recover, adapt, and turn mistakes into strength. Kayla's eyes glimmered. Exactly. And that, Evan, is why humans are admired, even by those who claim to despise them. You've shown that today, in a way that words alone cannot describe. They reached the ship's observation deck, overlooking the city below. The lights shimmered like a reflection of the stars above, endless possibilities stretching into the distance. Evan felt a sense of connection, not just to Kayla or to their mission, but to humanity itself. Imagine, he said quietly, a galaxy full of species who underestimate humans. And yet here we are, proving that courage, adaptability, and humor can win the day. Not once, not by luck, but because we are human. Kayla's smile softened. And that, Evan, is the essence of human yeah. Not arrogance, not strength, not technology alone, but the ability to thrive against all odds, to surprise, to adapt, and to endure. Evan laughed softly, the sound light and warm. I like the sound of that. Humans thriving against all odds. HFY. Kayla chuckled faintly. Yes, HFY, and you've made sure the galaxy will remember it. Evan leaned back against the railing, watching the stars glitter above the bustling city. The weight of responsibility, the pressure of the consortium, the uncertainty of alien scrutiny, all of it now felt like part of a larger lesson. Humans were underestimated, often dismissed, but when it mattered most, they shone brighter than anyone could imagine. The galaxy isn't ready for humans, Evan said softly, more to himself than to Kayla. But we'll keep showing them, one challenge at a time. Kayla's gaze softened. They may never be fully ready, and that's precisely the advantage. Humans adapt, humans endure, humans shine. And that is why they succeed. Evan nodded, a quiet smile on his face. I guess that's our superpower. Improvisation, courage, humor, heart. Humans make the impossible possible. Kayla's voice was quiet but firm. And today you reminded everyone of that. Not just as a human, Evan, but as a symbol of what humanity can achieve when it dares to act. Evan laughed softly, the tension of the day finally melting away. Well, if being human means thriving like this, I wouldn't have it any other way. And Kayla, I'm glad I was pretending, because in the process I proved that humans can do the impossible. Kayla placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, a gesture of quiet respect and camaraderie. Pretending can reveal truth, Evan, and today you revealed the truth about humans. Unpredictable, adaptive, clever, and courageous. The stars glittered above Lyra 9, endless and bright. Evan felt a deep sense of pride, a connection to his species, and the realization that humans, despite being underestimated, had the power to surprise, to endure, and to triumph. As night fully descended, Evan knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven itself once, but the galaxy was vast, full of challenges, opportunities, and adventures waiting to test them again. And when the time came, humans would rise, adapt, improvise, and shine. Because that was who they were. Because humans always found a way. And in that quiet, shining moment among the stars, Evan and Kayla knew one undeniable truth. The galaxy had witnessed the brilliance of humanity, unpredictable, clever, courageous, and unforgettable.